All right. Okay. Cat's out of the way. Hi, everybody. At least it's just the cat. I don't have to shush two teenagers at the same time. So this is a win today. Okay. So if you need to lay down, lay down. And if you'd prefer to sit, find something comfortable to sit up on. And then from either place, we're going to just shift around a little bit for a moment. Take a couple clearing breaths. And just give yourself a moment to settle into being here in this moment, in your body, in your space. A couple deep clearing breaths. And as you're beginning to clear out your breath, whenever you feel ready, begin to breathe so that there's a rhythm with your inhale and your exhale. So maybe both are the same length, or maybe your breath out is a little bit longer. And start to be aware of any part of your body that's really holding on to tension, whether it's shoulders or jaw or forehead or anywhere else that can soften just a little bit. And each time you breathe out, just letting that area, those spots, slowly unwind, especially your mind. You've had a busy day. And then draw in an intention for tonight's practice. That could be a feeling that you'd like to feel at the end of practice. It could be something else, something that maybe will carry you forward through the rest of your week. Let's take a couple more breaths here. And if you're on your seat, just take a moment to bring yourself to lie down. If you're already lying down, you're in a good spot, then bring your knees up into your chest or have your feet on the floor with your knees bent. And just take a moment here to rock side to side. I'm just going to check something here. Okay. Everybody still hear me okay? I just wanted to adjust the microphone. Okay. So hopefully you can still hear me because I changed the microphone so that hopefully it's clearer. So on your back, rocking a little bit with your knees side to side or knees to chest, or actually a little bit of both. So take some time to create a bit of movement. And if your feet are on the ground, You could even walk your feet a little bit wider to the sides and then let your knees fall from side to side. I always feel like it gets a little bit more into my hips here. Couple clearing breaths as you need. And at any point, giving yourself a full body stretch. So if you're finished with your knees to your chest and rocking from side to side, let's take our arms overhead, feet forward, stretch from your fingers to your toes or interlace your hands and press your palms back. And then let's start with our feet on our mat, excuse me, about hip distance apart, and bring your elbows down to your mat, draw your shoulder blades underneath you a little bit here. And we're just going to take a moment, feel your sacrum, your lower back on the floor, and maybe even feel a slight tilt so your lower belly draws in towards the center. So you feel an engagement, a little slight engagement in your core. And then with that, keeping that, press into your feet. Let's lift our hips just a little bit away from the mat, and then we're going to lower them back down. And you could move through this with your breath. So taking a breath in, trying to keep your lower belly engaged as you lift your hips slightly, and then exhale, lower back down. Feel your lower back settle before starting the next breath in. So we're going to take a couple more breaths in this way, and the lift might be really small. It may not be a big lift up here. And then if you'd like to pause at the top and hold, you're welcome to, or you can continue to move here. So you can hold here, hands on the floor, or interlace your hands underneath you. Walk your shoulders towards one another, holding bridge pose. And then as you're ready, if you're holding, let's release and let's bring one knee or both knees up towards our chest, and let's make some circles with our knees this time. So circular motion, a few times in one direction, a few times in the opposite direction. And coming back to the center, let's extend our left leg forward and right knee comes towards your chest, holding the top of your shin or top of your knee. And if for any reason it's hard to keep your leg extended, bring your foot back to the floor with your knee bent. Couple deep breaths here. And if you'd like, you could make some movement, moving your knee wide to the side and back to the center. So starting to create a little bit of space in your right hip joint here. And coming back to the center, let's release our right foot to the floor. Left knee comes in, and you could extend your right leg forward here. So pausing here for a moment, and again, staying here or staying with your knee a bit wider, or moving your knee from side out to the side, back to the center, and opening up a little bit of space in your hip joint. And when you're ready, bringing yourself back to the center, let's extend both legs long again. Full body stretch here, and maybe shaking your feet out. So I'm going to wiggle my feet from side to side, wiggle out my hips a little bit here while I'm stretching overhead. And then coming back to the center, bringing both feet on the floor. Let's take our right foot on top of our left leg. Again, a moment to pause, holding here, hanging out here, or bringing your left knee towards your chest, interlacing your hands behind your knee. A couple big breaths here. And seeing if you can relax your shoulders, your upper back towards the floor, but also noticing the connection of your lower back against the floor here. Take a couple deep breaths into your lower back. And then as you're ready, we'll release both feet back down. Now, I'm going to take a little bit of movement, windshield wiper my knees side to side in between. Feel free to pause or find any other type of release here that might work for you. And then back to the center where we'll take our left foot on top of our right leg. And again, maybe pausing here. This might be enough for tonight, but you can also take your right knee towards you and interlace your hands behind your knee. And then again, we're drawing our lower back, our mid back, our upper back towards the floor. Noticing your breath moving into your lower back and then softening or letting go towards the floor a bit. And as you're ready, we'll release that side. And again, I'm going to extend both legs this time just to give them a little shake. You could windshield wiper your knees or find any other kind of release that works here for you. If you have your legs extended, maybe again a big body stretch. Okay. So we're going to take one more hip opener here, right foot on top of your left leg again. And from here, I'm going to bring my knee in. I'm going to take my, I'll step back a little bit. So I'm going to take my left hand across the bottom of my right foot. And to do that, I'm going to bring my left knee towards my chest, take my right hand to the bottom of my left foot and hold the outside edge. And then from here, I'm going to take my right hand underneath my calf muscle, my shin, and hold here. So I can actually let my other leg go. It's just the same as figure 4. So it's like this without having your other leg lifted. Now, if you want to begin to lift up, you can. And sometimes I like to take my arms around. So my right elbow goes around the outside of my right knee and I'm drawing in. So if this feels a bit too much for your neck because you're lifting up, come back to here with your head down, or you can come back to figure 4 for one more round here. So same hip opener we just did. Couple big breaths here. Now from here, let's take our right hand to the outside of our right foot. Let go of your left hand. And we're going to take our knee wide for a half happy baby. So drawing your right knee down alongside the right side of your body. And then we'll let that go. And any kind of release here. Windshield wiper in your feet or your knees side to side. Couple clearing breaths. And then from here, coming to the other side. So this time, my right hand is going to go across the bottom of my left foot so I can let my right foot come back down to the ground. You can either hold underneath your calf muscle around to the outside of your left leg, or your arm can come around the your knee to your shin and hold here. So if you're lifting up again, Sometimes I feel that bothers my neck, so coming down here might be a bit better for you. Just see where that is. Or support by bringing your right knee back up. And then when you're ready, we'll take our left hand to the outside of our left foot, half happy baby here. And I'm going to let my right knee move to the side just to keep my lower back on the floor. And a couple big breaths here. And then when you're ready, we'll release that side. And again, any release that works for you. A couple clearing breaths. And then we're going to make our way up to tabletop. So hands underneath your shoulders and knees underneath your hips. Supporting yourself with a blanket if you need underneath your knees. So we're going to continue to warm up a bit with our spine here. So arching and rounding, cat and cow. But also any other organic movement. So you guys, generally, I would say everybody who's here actually tonight would know the kind of movement that would feel good for your body. So side to side, circular movement. If you're watching the recording, just any fluid movement that feels like it's creating space for you and where you can continue to connect into your breath. And then from tabletop, as you're moving, let's come back to center and tabletop. Let's take our right arm out to the right, weave it underneath your left arm, keeping your hips lifted here, coming down onto your right side for a bit of a twist. Breathing into the back of your body and then letting the front of your body soften as you breathe out. So relaxing your left arm, left shoulder. Couple more breaths here. And then as you're ready, we'll lift back to the center. Let's take a breath here. In through your nose, out through your mouth. And when you're ready, we'll lift our left arm out to the left, weave it underneath your right arm, coming down onto your left side here. Taking your time, let's come back to the center where we'll come into child's pose and finding a child's pose where you can relax into. I'm actually going to give a couple options that I don't always give, but you could have, because I prefer my knees wide, arms forward. You can have your knees close together, and if your forehead reaches the ground, you can rest your arms alongside you. I find this a bit compressive for the front of my body. Feels a bit smothering. So even with your knees wide, I'm going to weave my arms down towards my feet. Maybe you can see my fingers there. Yeah. And both hands come back and I lean to one side. So this isn't for everybody, but you guys can hopefully see my fingers wiggling here. They're just resting where my arches are on my feet. So that's an option as well. Turning your head to one side, letting your arms rest through the insides of your leg. I prefer to have my arms a little bit forward and bent, forehead to the ground. And then here, letting the front of your body soften as you breathe out. And you're welcome to stay here in the center or move your arms over towards the left side, and you can feel that extension down through your right side, hopefully. If not, maybe moving a little bit further. And again, I rest my left arm alongside me just for comfort here. Because really, we're stretching out through the right side of our body. Coming back to your intention as you come back to the center and then move to the other side here. And then as you're ready, coming back to the center, where we're going to come back to tabletop just for a moment. And let's step our right foot forward. Now, if you have a folded up blanket or a block, place that underneath your back knee. You can have your other blocks handy if you like. We're going to rise and come up with our hands on our hips or hands to your front leg. Now, front or your back knee underneath your hip, and then settling in until your front knee is over your ankle. So if you can get a little bit of stretch through the front of your back hip, it's nice, back of your left hip, front of your left hip. Couple breaths here, relaxing your shoulders. You could turn your palms open to face forward here, shoulders back. Or if you'd like to interlace your hands behind you, you might want to get a bit of a heart opener as you get into your hips here even. Let's take a couple more breaths here, maybe settling in a bit further. As you're ready, let's bring our hands down. Let's take a twist to the right. I'm going to use a block tonight, but you can have your hand on the floor. Left hand comes down. Walk your right foot a little bit wider to the right. Turn towards your front leg, your right leg. Shoulders back. You can keep your hand on your leg, hand on your hip, or extend your hand up towards the ceiling. And then as you're ready, releasing. If you have blocks, I highly recommend blocks. And then I'm going to pick up my back knee, move it a little further back, or you could wiggle your front foot forward. And then let's lift the bottom of our front foot. So squaring your hips forward. So if your hips are facing off to the side slightly, turning your hips forward, flexing your front foot. And if you're high on the blocks, you can stay there, or you can start to lower down and perhaps even fold over your front leg. Lots of breath. Soften the front of your body here. Last couple breaths here. And you're ready to bring your front foot back, dragging your heel back. Now, a couple options. You could come back to child's pose. If you're feeling a little bit more energetic, you could come to downward facing dog. So either one, child's pose or downward facing dog, your choice. And if you're coming to down dog, perhaps walking out the back of your legs a little bit. And then we're going to take those 3 movements on the other side. So let's step our left foot forward, placing a folded blanket or a block underneath your right knee. And then let's rise and bring our hands up. So a couple options again. So from here, we're going to settle in, feeling the stretch through the front of our right hip, our back hip, hips facing forward. You could take that clasp behind you again if you like, or relax your arms alongside you, palms facing forward. Either way, lots of breath into your heart space. And maybe settling in even more here. And then as you're ready, hands come down. Let's keep our left hand down. Walk your right foot slightly wider. And I'm actually going to take my back leg back a bit, turning towards your front left leg and taking a twist. So either hand on your front leg, hand on your hip, or reaching your hand up here. Connecting into your breath. And then as you're ready, coming back to the center, let's straighten out our front leg. And you can adjust a bit here. So front foot can walk forward, back knee can move back. But let's lift the bottom of our foot, flexing our toes, and then hands up on blocks or on the floor. And you could stay lifted here or fold in. Couple more breaths here. And as you're ready, let's bring that leg back. And again, child's pose or downward facing dog for a few breaths, maybe 5 or 6 breaths here. And then whether you're in down dog or child's pose, we will make our way into a standing forward fold at your own time. So just when you're ready, coming to a standing forward fold. Yeah, I knew you were going to be kind of annoying. Let's go. Letting your head release. You could grab opposite elbows here. Hi, buddy. And even let your head release. Shake out your head a bit if that feels okay. And then you can make a slight little micro movement with a little bit of the sway from your left foot to your right foot, or heels to toes, or just finding stillness here. If you'd like to take a couple halfway lifts, find some length as you inhale, hands on your shins, and then fold in as you exhale. You could do that a couple times or just stay hanging out in the center. And then we will ragdoll up to stand when you're ready, as you're ready, taking your time to come up to standing here. And shaking out your legs a little bit. And if you're in the middle of your mat like me, you could come towards the front of your mat here. So a little bit for our upper back. If you like, you could clasp your hands at your lower back, draw your elbows in, or straighten your arms out. We're going to take a breath in here, and then bend your knees forward, fold. If your arms are straight, you'll lift your knuckles up. If they're not, it's keeping your hands at your lower back, drawing your shoulders towards one another, and letting your head release. Anytime you like, releasing your arms, and then taking a breath or two in your forward fold, letting your head release fully. And then let's take that nice slow ragdoll up to stand again, a breath or two. Okay. So you could have your feet slightly parted, or you could bring your feet together for this one. Either way, you're not going to see me because I can see that my forehead is sort of cut off, but my arms are going to go up overhead. I'm going to clasp my right wrist with my left hand and press my palm up towards the ceiling. And if that's too much for your shoulders, they come up too high around your ears, then you could part your hands so that they're overhead parted. And then lengthen up here. We're going to tip over towards the left, drawing your right arm over to the left, and maybe move your hips over to the right. If that's pinchy for your lower back, come back to the center a little bit. Lower belly's drawing in, feet pressing down and lengthening up, and then tipping to the side a bit. Breathe into your lower back, breathe into the side of your body. And then coming back to the center, let's release our arms down and shoulders back, make some movement, maybe a clearing breath. And then inhale to the other side, where we'll grab a hold of our left wrist, or again, palms parted, lengthening up here, and then tipping towards the right, hips over towards the left a little bit, shoulders back. Connecting to your breath. Really feeling your feet press in and your core drawing in as well. And coming back to the center to release. Shake it out, couple clearing breaths. You can even take your feet, maybe shake them out a little bit here. And then facing the long edge of your mat. So let's take a wide stride. So wide-legged stride, and then hands come to your hips. Let's take a breath in here, and then bending your knees. Oh my, forward fold. I hope you didn't hear that snap, crackle, pop. You probably did. And then letting your head release, and you could either let your hands rest on blocks or the floor, or you could grab opposite elbows. And connecting into your breath, you may feel some different sensation if you press into the outer edges of your feet, or perhaps bend one knee and then the other knee and move a bit side to side. Sometimes I feel that really helps to stretch out my ankles, but you can also stay here just in the center. And then let's lift up halfway. Now we're going to walk ourselves around into a lunge. So turning yourself forward, turning your feet forward, back knee comes down. Now my right foot's forward, you may have your left foot forward, just depending on which way you're facing on your mat. it doesn't matter. So taking your front foot a little wider off to the side. I'm going to use blocks here. You're welcome to bring your hands on the inside of your front foot and just start to lower down a little bit. And also you could take your back knee and draw it back a little bit, but also place a cushion there if you need. If you have blocks and you'd like to lower down a little bit, you could bring your forearms or elbows to blocks and settle in here for lizard pose. And then each exhale, find yourself softening. You could bring your chin to your chest if that feels okay. But giving yourself here some time to be in this pose. We'll be here for a little bit of time. And so sometimes it feels good to move a little bit, swaying from side to side, or if you need to come out it for a second and then come back in, always an option. Adjusting your blocks at any time if you have those. When you're ready to come out, it might feel like that. So sometimes it feels good to make some hip circles and tabletop, maybe knee to chest or making a bit of movement side to side. Sometimes it's just nice to sit back into child's pose or downward dog or any other release that you need here. Let's take about 5 breaths. And then from wherever you are, we're going to come back into a standing forward fold, letting your head release completely. Big breath in, full breath out, and then let's ragdoll back up to stand. And wide-legged forward fold again, one more time. So we are going to move to the other foot this time. So if depending on your space, you may want to move your blocks to the other side of your mat or turn and face the other side, whatever makes sense for you. Let's take a breath in here. And then let's forward fold again. As you do, you could find the same variation. If any of you want to get into your upper back a little bit, your shoulder blades, you could clasp your hands and straighten your arms up towards the ceiling. If that creates more tension, just let that go. A couple more clearing breaths here. And then as you're ready, we're going to lift up halfway again. We're going to turn towards our other foot. Okay, so I'm going to actually turn and then shift my legs, but you do what you need to do to get your other foot forward. A little maybe cushion or blanket underneath your back knee. Front foot is a little wider, and blocks or no blocks, we're going to settle in for a little bit here. Coming back to your breath and feeling that letting go as you breathe out. So find that letting go in this pose where you can just let go of any holding, any clenching, any tension. Just a few more breaths here. And then when you're ready to come on out, finding your way out, again, whatever release, it might be a little bit of movement. It could be some stillness, could be child's pose, it could be downward dog. And then wherever it is you are, let's find our way onto the very front of our body. And we're going to come into Sphinx pose. Now, however, if this creates pinching in your lower back, or you feel like your shoulders are up around your ears, coming down lower here into a low cobra, keeping your gaze down, head and neck neutral. For those of you that have a bolster and feel comfortable with the bolster underneath your rib cage, you could use that as a bit of support here. Just making sure that's not going to create any pinching here. Just takes a bit of pressure off your shoulders, but I do realize that it does lift you up slightly higher. And if your hips start to lift off the floor, the front of your hips, just bringing yourself back down. If it's comfortable, once you're in the pose, let your chin come down towards your chest, or keep your gaze just slightly down here. Couple big breaths into your lower belly. Last couple breaths here. Now, as you're ready to lower, moving any props out of the way, let's create a pillow, bring our elbows wide, bring one knee up to the side, rest your head, connect into your breath here. And as you're ready, let's come back to the center, bending one knee, either reaching back with your hand and grabbing the top of your foot. For those of you that have a strap, take that around the bottom of your foot, holding the strap instead. If you have no strap and cannot grab your foot, I would suggest maybe bending both knees here, or just bending one knee and drawing your heel in. Try not to reach back and pull something in that process. So you can rest your head down and then anchor the front of your hip back towards the floor as you draw your heel in towards your towards the back of your leg. When you're ready, let's release. Bend both knees. Move your feet side to side a few times. And then let's switch sides. One side can feel very different than the other. And then as you're ready, let's bend both knees again. Move your feet side to side. And then we're going to slide that other knee up alongside and rest our head. Few big breaths here. And let's come back to the center. Slowly come back to tabletop, where you could move through cat and cow or move back to child's pose for a couple of breaths. So we're going to take our time. Let's come back up. And we're going to make our way onto our back again. So if you have a yoga strap, you could have that handy, or even a bolster or a block just close by. You don't have to, you just don't have to have it right away. We'll come to lie down. Starting either with your feet on the ground and moving your knees side to side, or knees up towards your chest and making some movement here. So if you have a yoga strap, you'll take the strap around the bottom of your right foot and hold the strap, press up through your heel, relax your shoulders down. If you don't have a yoga strap, you might be able to take your hands behind your leg and relax here. You could keep your toes flexed if you have behind your leg, or you can point and flex your toes or circle your ankle a few times. If you have the strap, it kind of pulls your toes back, so you're flexing your toes anyways here. If you like to extend your other leg long, and that feels okay for your hips and your body, go ahead and do that. And if you have your foot in the strap, you could take your other foot in, release your first foot. If you don't, you'll switch sides. Bring your hands behind the back of your other leg here. I'm getting all twisted. Okay. Shoulders come back down, and maybe extend your other leg long. I tend to bring my hands like down the strap, so I don't hold high, so that I can actually relax into my shoulders, except I seem to be twisting myself up here. Shoulders down, backs of my arms almost resting on the floor, because I tend to crunch my shoulders up if I reach up, but just see how that feels for you. A couple more breaths here. And as you're ready, releasing the strap, releasing your hands, and finding any release that works for you here. So maybe knees to chest, maybe extending long, or windshield wipering your knees side to side. So I'm going to take a block underneath my lower back, my sacrum, but you can also take your bolster instead. So if you have a bolster, if you don't have a block or a bolster, I roll up a blanket so it's pretty thick and place it underneath. And we're going to start with our legs extended up towards the ceiling. So both legs here. And this is an opportunity to make some movement with your ankles, point and flex your toes a few times. And then I'm going to draw my shoulder blades underneath me here. Lots of breath into your heart space, clearing breaths if you need still. And then I'm just going to pause. So I'm just going to let my feet be as they are without any flexion and any effort. Now you're more than welcome to stay here. I'm going to bring my feet down and then extend my legs forward. I know for some people this creates a really big pinching in your sacrum, so please, if that's the case, don't do that. But you could also come and bring your feet down for a moment, lift them back up, or come into a supported bridge here. Couple more deep breaths. And wherever it is that you are, bringing your feet back to the floor, removing any props off to the side, and one more time finding a bit of a release here, whatever that might be for you. So we're going to take a twist over towards the right, any twist that works for you. So it could be both knees stacked, could be wrapping your legs. If it creates a lot of discomfort to extend your opposite arm out, keep it close to your body or even draw in a bit so it's less of a twist for your body. So every body's different and every time is different. Last week, I was in I don't know, my body was really in pain and I was really having a hard time with the twist. So don't feel like you have to really go for it. See if you can relax into it a little bit tonight. And then take a few more breaths here. And as you're ready, coming to the center, and let's twist over to the other side. And again, finding a twist that works on this side, connecting into your breath. And when you're ready, coming back to the center, finding one more movement in the center here. So could be knees to chest. Some of you might want to come into a full happy baby here, maybe bound angle posture with feet together, knees wide. Whatever it is, taking about 4 or 5 breaths before we move into Shavasana. And when you feel ready to come out of that final posture, getting yourself set up for Shavasana. Tonight that might mean blankets and sweaters and bolsters or whatever else you need to be comfortable. And then finding your way into that place of comfort, lying on your back. If it's comfortable to extend your arms, your legs. If it's not comfortable to be on your back, find another place to be that is. And we'll spend some time here just allowing ourselves to be. A couple clearing breaths to surrender and really letting go tonight. Begin to slowly deepen your breath. Make some gentle movement with your body. Wiggling your fingers, your toes, making some movement with your ankles, your wrists, or give yourself a big body stretch. You might even want to bring your knees towards your chest or rock your knees side to side a few times before coming over to one side for a moment, taking a moment to pause on your side. And making your way up to your seat as you're ready. As you come up to your seat, take a moment to reflect on your intention. Take a couple deep breaths into your heart space. Take a couple breaths of gratitude for being here tonight. And I'd like to thank all of you for being here as well. Namaste. Thanks, everybody.